The desert prison on the rocky island of Colorado, ADX, is considered to be the world's most guarded jail where no one can escape from. In the silence of the night, the wind mixed with dust blowing over and over again, the temperature in the desert had reached -5 degrees. No one saw that in the dark moonlight, wearing white tights, a girl deftly climbed up 3.28 meters of wire to quietly slip into this prison called Sin Prison. The girl was named Hexi. She was merely 19 years old but had already become the fearless gold medal assassin of the dark world. If she deployed one drop of poison she could destroy a whole city. If she flipped her silver needles she can revive the dead and restore flesh to bones. She was an impenetrable defense in ordinary people's eyes. However, she had a little trouble with this level. An hour later Hexi passed through the lasers on the wall that seemed like a knitted net, finally arriving in front of unremarkable prison door. Hexi, you really came to save me. The prison door opened and a young handsome man looking pleasantly surprised rushed out to hold her. She could feel the man's slightly trembling body and tightly embraced him. Hexi's chilled heart held a trace of softness. Experience from childhood had made Hexi's nature become firm, persistent and icily arrogant, but only this man Lang Yat was different to her. The two had become partners in the organization and trained together, completed missions together, helping each other through mountains of daggers and seas of flames. They are not lovers, but their friendship is more profound than love. Hexi hugged him gently and softly said, "We are partners. If you are in danger, how can I not come to save you?" Hexi. Lang Yat's hoarse voice was trembling. He was holding her hands, but couldn't he relax? "I really want to be with you in this lifetime, unfortunately." Hexi wanted to ask unfortunately what, when she felt a sharp pain come from her abdomen. She suddenly pushed Lang Yat away and staggered back a few steps, shocked at the knife she could see inserted into her abdomen. She looked back at Lang Yat. Why? Under the dim light Lang Yat's complexion became sinister. From his mouth emerged a crazy laugh. Hexi, I blame you for not willing to be loved by me, refusing to accept me as your man. Since I can't have you, it would be better to follow the organization's order to kill you. Hexi's body was shaking. Looking into the man's eyes she saw that they were filled with pain and anger. She didn't love Lang Yat and had rejected his proposal. In her eyes Lang Yat was just a brother, the best partner. However, was their companionship all false? Don't love, so must obliterate. And why did the organization want to get rid of her? Hexi could feel the wound spreading open, making her limp and numb with a feeling of suffocation. This dagger had been smeared with poison. This is the blood-sealing throat poison. The organization, why do they want to kill me? From Hexi's forehead beads of sweat formed, making her pale face become more beautiful. I never thought I did anything unworthy to the organization. In the end, why blame that your life isn't good? Lang Yat stepped forward, extending his hand gently. He hooked his fingers under Hexi's lower jaw. At this moment Hexi gave him the illusion of being beautiful and gentle, making his coveting heart begin to stir. Shen Master predicted you have the power to curse, one day bringing disaster for the organization, even destroying the world. The organization gave you 3 or 4 chances to let you contribute this mysterious power, but you refused to give in. Humph humph, how would the organization allow you to live? Hexi's body was shaking, her whole body felt as if it was numb. Just because of a prophecy from God they wanted to kill her. And Lang Yat kept on saying that he loved her. How many times had she saved him in their missions, and this is his payback, cruelly sending her to her death. In this world, sure enough, besides oneself, one must not believe in anyone. Hexi suddenly pushed away Lang Yat and laughed crazily. Because you all feared me destroying the organization and the world, you want to kill me. In that case, you all open your dog eyes wide to take a good look at what kind of disaster my death will bring about to the organization. Her voice faded and Hexi suddenly pulled out the dagger in her abdomen, fiercely stabbing it into her heart. Lang Ye was shocked by her action but thinking that she was only committing suicide sighed, "Humph, Hexi, you always were unable to differentiate good from bad, if you had obeyed me earlier." Lang Ye's words were not yet finished when suddenly an ear-ringing sound burst forth followed by a violent explosion. Tightly grabbing hold of Lang Ye, Hexi felt a sharp pain as if her body was tearing apart. Her head and forelimbs all split up in pieces till not even screams could come out, not ending until there was no life left in her. Rumble. The whole prison's base loudly collapsed into dust due to the ear-splitting explosion sound. No one knew that within Hexi's body there was a space. Her body was the carrier of this space, and once Hexi died, the space exploded 10 kilometers all around. At the same time, Hexi's space stored her handmade poison allure. So when the explosion occurred, it quietly mingled in the air, spreading out into the world. The so-called allure, just one drop can immediately destroy all living things. This is the real curse and destruction from the prophecy, Space Tour, Galaxies Reversed. Here in Yanjing City, a most famous and outstanding place is located, Gluttonous House. All kinds of sensual pleasures were vividly and thoroughly displayed. Inside a golden cage, there was a thin and weak little girl. She trembled in fear as she was surrounded by men, who gazed at her with lecherous eyes. I had heard that this is a good quality furnace one, but the appearance is a bit unpleasant to the eyes. The little girl in the cage had pale skin, a thin figure, and unresponsive, gloomy eyes. She could be considered to be a very plain girl. A hand roughly extended into the cage, pulling the little girl's hair, and forcing her to expose her face. Uttering a pained scream, the little girl wailed as she sucked air in between her teeth. "Who are you? Why have you imprisoned me in this cage?" The men heard what was said and burst into loud laughter. Her voice is at least pleasant to hear. If she were shouting on a bed, it could certainly melt the soul. Among the surrounding people, a tyrannical-looking man with a scar on his face suddenly bent down and pulled the little girl over. This man didn't have any tender feelings for the fairer sex and harshly tore her clothes. His rough hands ruthlessly pinched her exposed, tender skin. Tisk tisk, though this body is a bit ugly, it actually has such soft skin and tender flesh. This father likes it. Another person laughed. "Old Zhang, you already have a lot of furnaces at home. Don't rob us of the chance to have one." "That's right. The initial price is only 1,000 yuan, I would like to raise the bid to 1,005. The little girl's eyes filled with fear. These men were gazing at her as if they were appraising an item, their actions were full of roughness. She screamed as loud as she could, "I'm a miss from Nalan Manor, not a slave, quickly release me." The men on the scene quieted at first, before bursting into loud laughter. This shameless slave actually dares to say she is a miss from Nalan Manor. Every daughter from Dr. Nalan is elegant and refined, they also have awe-inspiring innate talent. Don't say that you, this lowly slave with an ugly appearance, trash with blocked meridians, actually dares to pretend to be a miss from Nalan Manor. Don't make me laugh. Someone pulled her hair to lift her up, laughing while tearing her remaining clothes. "Let me examine her first to see whether or not she is a jade annulus too, then we can decide her price. She could be a broken flower, withered willow 3. No matter what we do to her, we'll still be spending a lot of money to buy her, so either way it's a profit for Gluttonous House." Once again everyone laughed, no one questioning the man's actions. At Gluttonous House they auctioned everything that one could think of. However, while there were premium products, they could actually end up being worthless trash. Those premium products must naturally be looked after carefully. While the trash that isn't up to auction standards, if the guests find it interesting, they can feel free to look at it. If it's bumped into or broken though, they will have to compensate with money. Don't touch me! Don't touch me! I really am a miss from Nalan Manor. The little girl's eyes filled with desperate tears, but no matter how much she struggled and yelled, these beasts were still going to publicly humiliate her. Her outer clothes were shredded and her skirt was pulled, revealing some of the little girl's pale skin. Her ears filled with the sound of the men's cruel, lust-filled demonic laughter, seeming like the fierce fangs of a beast. The little girl's faith and self-respect were totally destroyed. The golden cage imprisoned her, giving her nowhere to escape to. Instead of being humiliated or sold as a slave, she would rather die. Dash! Suddenly, the little girl rammed her head into the iron lock of the cage. Blood splattered everywhere, the clanking of the iron lock echoing in the ensuing silence. One furnace, essentially a bed warmer for lewd acts. 2 jade annulus untouched, virgin. 3 broken flower, withered willow fallen woman, no longer a virgin.